So here we are, the first official commentary video on this channel. But before we begin, if you guys enjoy the video or are just feeling extra kind, maybe drop a sub and let me know in the comments if you enjoyed it. If you didn't, I don't know what to tell you. Get a better sense of humour. So in today's video, we're going to be doing the single most generic, most boring video type on YouTube, the tier list video. Yes, you heard it right. I'm going to attempt what countless others have tried and rank the weapons in Apex Legends from F being total fish ass to S being seriously not fish ass. So without further ado, let's get the video started. First off in F tier is without a doubt the most disappointing pea shooter in all of online gaming. The one, the only, thank God, the Mozambique. I'll be honest, I don't have a single clip of this weapon to show. It's due to the fact that the only time this weapon ever ends up in my inventory is when I accidentally pick it up straight off the dropship. I would rather throw an extended mag at the enemy and would more than likely deal more damage. And before anyone tells me in the comments that with a hop up it could be really good, I killed 17 teams in 10 seconds with only 2 of my bullets. Yet don't lie to yourself. You have never picked up this weapon and thought, oh, this is really good. I might use this all the way to the end of the game. Up next, and also in tier F, is the P2020. Now I can safely say this gun is nowhere near as awful as the previous in this video, but that doesn't mean that this cotton wool shooting, paperclip hitting pistol is good. Unlike the Mozambique, the P2020 is actually usable, especially with the hammer point rounds. It doesn't make this a good weapon, but it does make it a lot more viable. Even so, if you see any other weapon on the ground, you should consider picking it up instead. Now, does anyone remember the legend of the Destructor rounds? The feeling of turning an alternator hit from a flick to a full-on smack. Back in the days of Season 3, the alternator was my favourite top-tier weapon. But now, now it's fallen so far down that it's landed head first into the D tier weapon list. And is currently undergoing surgery to try and fix some of what it used to be. Is it a usable weapon? Yeah, like every other weapon on this list. But does that mean you should use it instead of an R99 or an R301? No. Now the only other weapon in this tier is the Prowler. And yes, I know all 3 people that are watching this video are going to be thinking, oh, the Prowler is a top tier weapon when it's fully auto. And yeah, that is true. But the issue here is that unless you manage to find both the weapon and hop up straight off the drop, then your opportunity is lost. There are games where I've run around the Prowler, no hop up, and I've been going from gunfight to gunfight in the hopes of finding it, only to die because of this burst fire pebble poker. Now jumping to C tier, we have the EVA 8. And I'll admit, this weapon does have its uses. With the double tap trigger, this weapon can absolutely slap if you hit both shots. The issue is in that statement itself. You have to hit both shots. Like shotguns in most games, the EVA 8 can be so inconsistent. It's a great choice of weapon all the way to mid-ish game. But the issue is that if you pick up the EVA 8, you're limiting yourself to them close range battles, meaning you would have to have a long range secondary. This isn't much of an issue as it is an inconvenience. Up next we have the Triple Take. I've always had a love-hate relationship with the Triple Take. Sometimes you throw the choke on, charge it up, destroy enemy shields, 1, 2 shots, they're down. But sometimes you run into buildings with this shotgun sniper hybrid, deal 6 damage, or you charge up, you shoot, you see the 6 damage indicator come up once, twice. It just leaves you feeling dead inside. Now the charge rifle. When this laser pointer was first released, you couldn't go 5 seconds without someone shooting these laser beams across the galaxy and annoying you until you ran away. Now don't get me wrong, the charge rifle can still be effective, and I've seen a resurgence in the use of this weapon, but overall, for the mid to long range engagements, I can name many, many better weapons, and honestly, I'd rather take an R99 over range to deal a more consistent amount of damage than the charge rifle. And an example of the weapons I'm talking about at them sort of longer, mid to long ranges is the longbow and sentinel. Now, one of these weapons received quite a big buff this season. You used to have to charge the sentinel up with an entire shield battery, which in most games are the most important consumable. But now, with a mere 2 shield cells, you can get this thing powered up. You can reduce someone's full Evo shield down to nothing, and that makes this incredibly powerful for them poke engagements. Now, the reason these weapons aren't higher on the list is due to the fact that you have to adopt a very selective playstyle in order to make use of it. The Sentinel and Longbow are engagement weapons, being able to deal them high damage shots followed up with that close R99, even an alternator. Once you've hit someone with these weapons, you can safely run in, knowing full well that you're going to be able to do a decent amount of damage and hopefully knock the enemy. Up next, we have an old favourite, the Spitfire. Now, not so long ago, I would have considered it to be a S tier weapon. The ability to fire this weapon, go make a cup of tea, talk to your neighbours, come back and still be firing was a big plus. However, as of recent times and minor nerfs, this gun is no longer the beast it used to be. For this reason, it's also in C tier. The final weapon in this tier was a difficult one to place. I must have spent all of 15 seconds considering if this weapon should be higher, but then I realised I had a video to make, so it's been placed here. The RE45 is a pistol. Yes, you heard me right, it is a pistol, and the reason it's this high on the list is it doesn't have a special hop up. No, it doesn't have an insane fire rate like the R99, but it does have such a consistent fire rate. I feel fully confident with this weapon in my pocket. It may not hit as hard in terms of pure time to kill like the 99, but it can be a very consistent weapon and can give you them knockdowns pretty early on in the game, pretty consistently. And if you're still watching this video, I'm proud of you. You've got this far in the video without raging out and leaving the video because your favourite weapon was placed too low. As we move into B tier, just remember that this video is purely my opinion though, and any of these weapons in the right circumstances can be amazing. Now, the first weapon in B tier is the L-Star. Now, remember when this weapon first came out and it was put into supply drops? People flocked like ants to pants to get their hands on this gun. The memories of everyone trying to do their weekly challenge with this weapon, only to have the 2 out of 10 marked. In all honesty, it was never a bad gun, but when you see that golden weapon laying there, you expect something to destroy. Nowadays, this gun is a common floor item, and you wouldn't believe how many times it shreds me. The L-Star can be highly effective at close range, but doesn't do nearly enough to get any higher on this list. And before I tell you the next weapon on this list, hold your pitchforks. The Hemlock. Now, I'm sure for a lot of you, this could be even an S tier. I've seen videos of people with the single fire on this absolutely destroying people. But the issue is, for lower skilled players, like myself, I can't do this. I feel like I'm shooting pebbles at people. And yes, sometimes I can get that consistent shield crack, knocking of the player. From distance, it can be excellent. But with its inconsistency, I couldn't place this any higher on the list. The R301. Now, what can I say about this weapon? This has to be the most consistent weapon on this list. With its decent damage, good recoil, good range, decent ammo straight off, this weapon is overall, well, decent. The reason it gets this high on this list is because it is so versatile at all ranges, and I can't really say any more than that. This gun, if you see it, you should pick it up. Now, I'm pretty sure this weapon is going to get people mad about its placement, the Mastiff. Much like some other weapons on this list, the Mastiff has had a major fall from grace. When this was replaced with the Peacekeeper as a supply drop weapon, I couldn't help but think, how overpowered is this going to be, just laying on the floor? But after testing it, I realise it's not the powerhouse it once was. It can still hit for an incredible amount of damage, but the slower fire rate, ammo count and damage nerf make it far from the go-to shotgun anymore. Straight into A tier. These are the guns that are so good and so powerful that they can dominate almost all situations. And we're starting off with the R99. Now, I can hear people telling me that this should be an S tier weapon, and I've dominated every game I've ever played with this, and that's great. But the one and only reason it isn't in S tier is because of the recoil. Now, the R99 has always been my personal go-to weapon for them close range engagements. And if you manage to get that gold barrel stabiliser, then you may as well apologise to the lobby because you've already won the game. The R99 fires at roughly 6.5 million rounds a second, don't take my word for it, which makes it godly at close range. But as I say, that recoil sends it over the edge from being top tier. And also, going straight to A tier is the Flatline. Now, the Flatline is one of two weapons that before this season, I can safely say I had never used properly. However, after hearing some hype for it, I tried it and I can say that it destroys. The Flatline can absolutely flatline your enemy, if you see what I did there. With such high damage, the only real downside of this weapon is the recoil, but once you get used to it, it can be devastating, and if you haven't used the Flatline lately, I would suggest trying it out in Season 5. The final weapon in this tier is the weapon of choice this season for the try-hard Apex community. Every Apex Predator, all the way to Bronze tier, I see everyone using this, and it is the Havoc. If you can get past the charge up time of this weapon and learn to work with it, the Havoc dominates. It may not be as strong at them long ranges as it used to be, but still, this can destroy teams. If you can get in the habit of charging it before turning the corner to get that firing rate advantage, then you will dominate situations. Simple as. The Havoc is the best at a lot of situations, and I know people are going to hear that and say, well, why isn't it an S tier then? And that is simply because of that charge up time. The amount of times I've died because the charge up hasn't started firing before I've been melted by literally any other gun. Now into the final tier, the S tier. And starting off this tier is the Peacekeeper. Now, this season the Peacekeeper is no longer a floor drop and only a supply drop weapon. The damage has been buffed as well. I have never personally enjoyed the inconsistency of shotguns in Apex, but there's no doubt that in the right hands the PK can absolutely dominate, and I see mad plays where people are charging up this weapon for what seems 250 miles away, and they're shooting the Peacekeeper and somehow knocking shields, and you know, I'm all for that, you know, but personally I can't, but I am going to put it in S tier because I do know how powerful it can be. And in the words of Rich, it's time to get Kraberized. Kraber has always been a hit or miss weapon. That insane damage output of the Kraber headshot scares even the most experienced player. In the hands of a below average player, however, the Kraber isn't a viable choice. For players like me that can't hit regular headshots, I would rather take a different weapon. But that doesn't mean that this gun isn't so godly good in the right hands. Now, the gun, the myth, the legend, the devotion. I have never once seen this gun this season and not picked it up. Yes, it does have a limited ammo, being a supply drop weapon, but it has an insane fire rate and melts armour in this game like no other. If you see the devotion and you genuinely don't use it, why? Pick it up, get rid of your R99, and I guarantee you will dominate. Now, the penultimate entry in this video, and the weapon almost all Apex players say is the best this season, is the Wingman. This weapon has insane aim down sight strafe speed and ludicrous headshot damage with the Skull Piercer. If you can chain them 1, 2, 3, shots, if you can hit them 2 body shots and a headshot, you destroy. But the problem is, again, for lower skilled players like myself, I can't consistently hit the headshot. But that doesn't mean that I don't have my games where I tap, tap, tap down. It is the best feeling in this game. And here we are, the final entry on this list. My personal favourite gun in this game, without a doubt, is the G7 Scout. And the reason it's at the top of my list is because, unlike the Wingman, if you miss your shots, it doesn't matter. With a purple extended mag, you can have 20 rounds. That, matched with the 2x Bruiser Scope, make this my go-to mid to long range weapon, and I would confidently have this as my only weapon and still feel like I could drop that 2k badge. I don't think I've been in one situation where I haven't been able to use a G7 Scout to sort it out. I've used this at close range, and yeah, it's not going to beat an R99 against an equally skilled player, but at close range this can do damage, and mid range and long range it destroys. I don't know why people don't talk about this more. I know it had a nerf, I get that, but this on its own, no double tap trigger, is so dominant for me in my games, and it has led me personally this season to 4 separate 3k badges purely because of the G7. Now, if you've made it this far, feel free to subscribe. Again, this is my opinion and only for fun. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Stay safe, comment what I could do better or what you didn't like, and I'll see you next time.